Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Programming Concepts. I am Sayyid Naveed Abbas, and in this video, I'm going to show you how to create an inventory management system using MVVM architecture in Windows Presentation Foundation application .NET Framework. So let's get started. First, open Visual Studio and select C#, then Windows, Desktop, and then look for Windows Presentation Foundation application .NET Framework. Here, and then click Next. Then I'm gonna name it Inventory Management System Programming Concepts, like a PC. I'm gonna create. Okay, now this opens up the main window here to design it. But for now, as we are going to use MVVM, we first need to understand what MVVM actually is. So MVVM stands for Model, View, and View Model. So we have a model which is basically a business logic or data. For example, an item. So we have an item in the store. So item has a name, a barcode, its stock value, and etc. etc. Then comes the view. So view is something that user sees. So for example, buttons, text boxes, data grid views, and that model is populated into the view so that the user can see it. And the view model is actually the middleman. So it decides how data should be populated in the view, how it should be fetched from the view and stored into the model, or it should be fetched from the model and to be shown into the view. So you will understand it when we once started and implement it, because you cannot understand a thing if you don't practically do it. So let's get started. First, we need to create a folder here, add a new folder, and I'm going to name it model. Inside this folder, I'm going to create a model. So a model is basically a class in C#. So I'm going to select class, and then I'm going to name it as item. Then I'm going to press add. I'm going to adjust its modifier to make it public. So this is item. We are also going to use model first approach and entity framework. So for this, we go to tools, Negate package manager, browse, and here I search for entity framework. Make sure you have a working internet connection. Then I click on here, entity framework 6. I select my project, inventory management system, PC, and I select the version, the latest one, and install. Apply the changes. I accept. Okay, now entity framework has been installed into our project. So in the item, there should be an integer for storing the ID of the item in the database. So I'm going to use public integer item ID get set. So the entity framework will automatically recognize it as the primary key because it has the words ID. I can also store it like simple ID, but item ID is something I prefer. Then I'm going to use public string name of the item get set, and I'm going to put public string details of the item, then the price of the item, and description already covered in details. So public double reorder level. So reorder level actually defines at what point this item is marked as low stock, so that the user should reorder this item to overcome the low stock problems. Okay, I think it's good for now, and I save it. Now I can explicitly tell Entity Framework what things are required, what things are primary key, what things are foreign key. So for this, I can use using system data component model data annotations, and I'm gonna specify here that this is the primary key. And then I can also specify that this thing is required, and I can also specify the maximum length. It should be 50. And here, this is not required, but the maximum length should be 300. So I can do this for all these things. I can also set the default value, which is 10. One more thing, we didn't specify the unit, the measuring unit. So I'm gonna public string measuring unit get set. So this is like units or kg or liters, etc. Okay, I'm gonna save it again, and then I go to the models again and create a DB context. Create another class. I call it inventory DB context. I set it to public DB context, and here I am required to put the name of the database connection. So I go here in application configuration, and I'm going to put the connection strings here. So in the configuration, I create connection strings for my database. So connection strings, and add a new connection string. The name should be con str connection string, and the connection string is so for this I am going to use I'm going to open SMS SQL Server Management Studio. If you don't have SQL Server Management Studio, you can still create this application if you have installed local DB while installing the Visual Studio. So you can go to Visual Studio Setup Installer, and you go to Modify, and you must have selected this. So this installs the basic database management systems. So you can store the data into SQL local DB. I'm going to close it for now. Okay, I have this SQL server, and I have installed this instance of SQL Express, and this is my authentications, logins, and passwords. I can also use Windows authentication, and it doesn't require to provide username and password. I just need the server name. So I'm going to use this server in my connection string. So I'm going to specify server equals, copy it and paste it here. And then I'm going to specify the name of the database. Database equals, I can write any name here. So I'm going to use the name inventory DB. And then I'm going to use Windows authentication. So I'm going to use trusted connection equals true. Then I'm going to specify multiple active result sets equal true. Then I'm going to specify the provider. Provider name is SQL system dot data SQL client. Okay, that's it. And I'm going to copy this name and use it here. And then we have put this into our DB context. It shows that the item model will be saved in database in the table called items. Okay, now we have set up the DB context and the model. Now we have to create the view model. So I create a new folder, view models, and add items view model. Now we need to create a base view model. So base view model will be inherited by all the view models throughout this application. And that base view model will be responsible for detecting changes in the view model. So for example, a user makes any changes in the view, that will be detected by the base view model, and we can we can trigger UI updates using that view model. So you will understand it when we once implement it. So I'm gonna create a new model, which is a view model. I call it base view model. I make it public. Now this base view model is going to inherit I notify property changed, and then I put this code. So whenever a property is changed, it will be detected by this base view model, and then we can change our user interface accordingly and update the user about the new changes. So I save this one. I come back to my items view model and I use the base view model here. Now our item has a name. So I'm going to create a string, sorry, public string name. This name will be used to store the previous values or the current value, so that when the value is changed, we can detect that the name has been changed. So name, and it should be here. Then we also create public string name, and when this name is fetched, it should return the current name of the item. and when its property is set, then we set the name to the value, and on property change, name of name. So what happens here is every time we give the value to the name. So for example, we set the name of the application, like we have in our inventory, we have an item called a cap. Okay, so the name will be cap, and then when we change the name from cap to a hat, this will trigger the change, and here the we can use any property change event here. So you will understand it when we once do it. So then we have, if I go to my items model, we have name, details, price, measuring unit, and VO level. I'm gonna do the same for all these things. So okay, that's it. Now we create the constructor. So public item views. So the name at the initial state, it should be null, details, no, price, 0, measuring unit, nothing, VO level 10. Now we create the view, and I don't want to waste my time, so I'm going to use ChatGPT to create a view for this. Create a view for below model in Windows Presentation Foundation in XAML. I provide it with my item model. The view should have two columns. First column should contain the list of all available items. Second column should contain text boxes and text blocks for adding a new item. Second column should also contain buttons for saving and updating the item. Okay, let's see what happens. Now it gives me the layout for the item view. So we go to our project, create a new folder called views. Inside the views, add a new view. I'm going to add a new window. I call it items view. And then I'm going to copy the code, ChatGPT code from grid. Sorry. Okay, now you see we have this data grid view, which will list all the items we have added to our database. Then we can write the name, details, price, measuring unit, and view level here. Then we have the save button and the update button. Now, if we see it closely, like this data grid view, you will see that we are saying that the source of these items is the items in our binding. So this must be in our view model. We currently don't have this in our view model. So I'm gonna go back to my items view models, and then I'm gonna create public observable collection. So this will be the collection of item model. It should be called items. Items. Again, we shall be doing the same thing for the items as we did for all other properties, like we created two variables of each thing. Observable collection, item, we call it items. So this stores the current items, and this and here we return the items, and here if the value of this item is changed, we trigger the value change event. Okay, now we have items here, so this will be displayed here. Also, it says selected item, so when any item from here is selected, we will store it to selected item. Now again, this should be in our view model, so we go back into our view model and we create public. Now this is not a collection because this is a single item, so we have item, selected item, public, item, selected item, get, return selected item, set, on property changed, raise property change event here. Now we have name, price, measuring unit here. The bindings of these are set like this. So sorry, we have name, price, and unit here. So name of the item, price of the item, and measuring unit of the item. Now in the second column, we have item details, and here we have the name, new item name. So we remove the new item. You see the mod is two-way, so we can change it here and it is updated there. And if we update it in the view model, it is updated here. And then we have details and price, measuring unit, and view the level. Then we have the save command and update command. We also need them in our view model. So I go here and create a new command, public I command. It should be called as save command, as it is in the view, save command. Save command, get. Okay, to make these commands work in our MVVM architecture, we need to enable or implement relay commands. So these relay commands actually trigger the functions in our view model when a button is clicked or an event happens in the view. So for this, we go here, we create new folder, name it as commands, and add a new class, call it relay command. So the relay command is going to inherit the I command, and this enables us to map the view and the view model and the actions. So we can specify if an action is it can be executed and how it should be executed. So now we'll come back here in our view model, and we need another command for public I command, update command, and get. Okay, now we have save command equals new relay command, save command, and can save item. Same way we have update command, new relay command, update item, can update item. We need to create these methods. So first I'm going to create can save item. So private boolean can save item. So here we can validate if we can add a new item. So to create a new item into the database, its name must not be null and price must be greater than 0. And okay, that's it. And then we can private void save item. And when we want to save the item, we create an item. We specify its name as the name entered by the user, details as entered by the user, price as entered by the user. And after mapping all these values, we add it to our database. So we write it to application inventory DB, sorry, inventory DB context, DB equals new DB context, DB items, add this item created, newly created, and DB save changes. So this will save all the changes, and then we also do that for the update item. So okay, so now we create the update logic here. So can update. Now this time we're gonna check if the selected item is not null, because when we update, we are updating an existing model, so we must have selected an item before we update it. And also the name and price, the new name and price that is entered by the user in the text boxes falls within this validation. And then we're going to use private void update item, then inventory DB, then we find that model, then we update the model, and then we save the model. Okay, that's it. Now we load all the items that are inside our database. So for this, I'm going to create a method load items, and inventory DB context items is new observable collection item. And from the database, I load all the items. Okay, yeah, that's it. And I save it. I need to use this relay command. I need a reference for this using inventory management system PC commands. Okay, now it has recognized the relay command. Okay, now we have set it up everything. Now we need now we need to enable migrations for database creation and updation, and for changing anything in the database. So when we use migrations, it is easy to maintain database, the changes. So it tracks everything so that it is easier for us to make changes in the database. So open the package manager console. You can also go here, NuGet package manager and package manager console. Here, select enable migrations. In the meantime, if we go here in my SQL Express, I connect it, and in the databases, I can see there's no database with the name I specified in the connection string, because that database doesn't exist here. But after we enable the migrations, the database will be created itself. Now it is checking if the context already targets an existing database. As there's no database in my computer, it will create a new one. Okay, now the migrations are enabled, I am going to commit the initial migration. So add migration, initial migration. You can also see here that migrations folder has been created. Okay, I add the initial migration. Now we can see that the designer code has been generated, and this designer code creates table in in the database with the name items, which is specified in my DB context here. And as I keep going adding my models here, the migration will keep on adding things here every time I add the migrations. Now I update the database to save the changes. Okay, there's an error saying I haven't specified the initial catalog or attached DB file name. So this mostly happens when I don't have when we don't specify the name of the database. So I go to my connection string and see what problem is there. Okay, I got the problem. The comma doesn't exist here. So actually, it should be semicolon. How can I forget that? Okay, now let me run this again. I hope this time it works. Okay, now it is applying the changes and the database creation is successful. We can come back to our server and refresh it and go to databases, and you can see inventory DB has been created and it must have items table. You can see here. Okay, now we come back here and go to our items view model. It is set up. Now we need to attach this view model with our view. So we go to our view and it's C# code. We can also access this from the view directly. Like I right click here and view code here. Now I create the instance of my view model. So items, view model, view model. And then I initialize this view model, new view model. And this data context equals view model. So now we have attached a view model with this view. Okay, now we need to display this view. So I go to Solution Explorer, I go to app.xaml, and I set the startup location to views, items, view.xaml. So in the startup, I want to show this view. I'm gonna run this. Okay, you can see our view is ready. The list of items here, and we can create the new here. So I insert the name as cap. This is a cap item. The price, I set it to 10.8. Measuring unit is unit, and auto level is 10, and I save it. Okay, once an item is saved into the database, I want this list to be refreshed. So I go back to my view model, and after successful saving, I load items, Also, I load the items when the view model first uh, loads. Load items at the startup. So I click on it again, and you can see the cap is here. So if I select this cap, okay, the cap is selected, but nothing happens here. So I want this view model that whenever I select an existing item, its properties should be loaded here so I can update them. So I go back to my view model, and here when the selection changes, like the selected item changes, I want to check if it is not null. So if a value is not null, then the name should be value name details should be value details price equals value price measuring unit equals value measuring unit and reorder level equals value reorder level. I hot reload it and go back here, but the selection change event won't trigger because I already have selected it. So I'm going to restart it. Restart it. I select this, and you can see it appears here. So that's the magic of MVVM and the iNotify property change. So I just changed the name and details and price and measuring unit, and the binding automatically took these values into our view. Okay, now once we have selected an item and the item has been loaded, we can change the value. So I want to increase the price and update. Again, on the update, I want this item to be updated. So I go back again, and once the item is updated, load items. Also, on successful updation and saving, I want the fields to be null. So I create another method, private void clear fields, and everything should be written to the default values. Okay, I run this again. I select the item, I update the price, and I update, and the value is updated. Okay, I didn't call that function. Okay, now I need to add another, I want to change it. So the cap should call a hat and update it. And you see it's updated. Now I need to create another item and save. You see the cap. So this way we can add and delete, add and update items using MVVM. Now we come back and call these clear fields and clear fields. Now I run this again, and I add another item. So that item is a jacket this is a jacket. Its price is 50 units and real level 10, and save. And I add another item called bottle, a water bottle. So, water bottle details. It is a water bottle. The price is 2. Measuring unit is bottle, and reorder level is 10. Save again. So this is how we create items using MVVM architecture. Now we can also trigger changes when user enters something, and while it is entering or during the model being created or populated, we can detect the changes in these controls. So for example, I don't want the user to enter a name which contains an underscore. So I'm gonna go back here, and when the name is changed, if value contains an underscore, show a message box. Message box show underscore score is not allowed. And then I replace the value. So value equals value replace underscore with a space. Put it here and hot reload it. Come back here. I see again mango underscore juice, and then I move to the details, and once I move to the details, it says underscore is not allowed, and it has replaced this underscore. We can also do this while it is being happened. So now you have noticed that when I moved to the details, the function was triggered. How can we trigger it while it is being changed? So we can control that in the view here. So when this field is being entered, I can write update source trigger on property changed. So on each property change, this thing will be updated. So now I run it again. And I write mango, and as soon as I pressed underscore, it says underscore is not allowed, and juice. Now you might have noticed that these buttons do not work until our fields are acceptable. So that's the magic of I command and can execute. So if you see the code, items view model, you will see that the save command can only be executed if the name is not null or empty and the price is greater than 0. So you can see if I write the price as 1, and as this is not updated, if I move to the measuring unit, this will be updated. So now the name is mango juice and the price is 1, and the validation is successful. Now the save button appears here. So we can add an item just by providing its name and price. So I save it, and you can see it is saved. In the same way, when we see the update logic, for the update command, it says can update item only when the selected item is not null, and also the name and price is greater than 0. So I write the name here like banana juice, price 2, and the save button is enabled, but the update is not enabled until we select something. So we select it and it writes the name here. So if I remove this, again it is disabled. And because we have set the update trigger to property change for this field, it triggers immediately. So we can do that for all of these things. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. See you in the next video. Until then, keep learning. Take care. Allah Hafiz.